Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News, focusing on the search for MH370. I'm joined today by my co-host, Richard Godfrey. Good morning, Richard.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey.
It is a beautiful afternoon here. Absolutely. Now, viewers, several months ago, we looked at what a Emirates captain, Captain Martyn Smith, saw on March the 8th, 2014, while crossing the Indian Ocean from Melbourne, Australia to Dubai. This was the day after the disappearance of MH370. Now, Richard, can you remind viewers of what Captain Martyn Smith observed?
Yeah, Martin Smith said we were in a block from flight level 370 to flight level 390 over the Indian Ocean when I observed an aircraft within this block and crossing our track. I queried this with the Australian ATC, who denied any knowledge of traffic near to us. He said I had a visual sighting. There was certainly no traffic alert or resolution advisory on our TCAS system. So what I did was took the EK407 flight plan for that day and the waypoints it was supposed to go past across the Indian Ocean, like one waypoint at 8 degrees south, 98 east, then Mutme, then Elati. And it was an on-time departure, so we tracked it while was ADS-B over Australia, and then we estimated using Whisper the track beyond that over the Indian Ocean. And we worked out the unidentified aircraft crossed the flight path of EK407 at around 1846 UTC. It was a moonless night at that time. We asked Emirates, but have had no official response from them. We got all the flight aware and flight radar 24 data, but as I mentioned, when they're out of range of the land-based receivers, those are only estimates. We did also ask ATC Australia if they can corroborate the communication from EK407, and they replied, no comment.
So, what were the results of your initial analysis, Richard?
Yeah, we're showing a screenshot of the initial analysis. EK407 and the unidentified aircraft were both detected and tracked on the 8th of March every 2 minutes using the Whisper technology. The scenario at 1846 UTC is what we're showing in the screenshot now. And EK407 was just reaching the waypoint Mutme along its planned flight route. And it turns out that there were three unidentified aircraft in the vicinity of EK407. The one of particular interest we called XX, and it's marked in red. And that comes the closest to EK407, around 60 nautical miles in front and off to the right of the EK407 flight path. The EK407 had a ground speed of 523.5 knots and was on a track of 302.3 degrees true. And the flight XX had a ground speed of around 450 knots and was on a converging track of 156 degrees true. The flight XX appears to have seen flight EK407 and taken avoiding action. The closing speed would have been about 898 knots, which only represents 4 minute flying time. The standard separation is 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty close. The US
Hmm.
Navy P-8 Poseidon crew member had previously posted a comment on your website, had he not?
Yeah, there was a comment on my website from a guy called Ian Betts back on the 4th of June 2024, so almost a year ago now. We've got a link to that comment in the script below. And he spent 6 years in the US Navy, and one of his primary missions was search and rescue. And he flew on P-8 Poseidons, and there were some P-8 crews who were tasked, he says, for searching some of the probable crash areas of MH370. Now, he was a member of the Patrol Squadron VP-8, nicknamed the Fighting Tigers, which is part of the US 7th Fleet and based in Japan. And their role is to cover the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean from the international date line right across to the India-Pakistan border, and as far north as the Kuril Islands and as far south as the Antarctica. So that's an area of 124 million square kilometers, a large job. And Ian's role was acoustics. That was his primary job. And the P-8A Poseidon has a launch and handling system, and they carry 129 A-size sonar buoys on board, and they can launch them whenever they wish to. And these sonar buoys have a hydrophone array of detectors, and they can pick up underwater sounds. And they use these, for example, to track submarines. So Ian was deployed to Atsugi Air Force Base on Okinawa in Japan with his squadron, and they supported operations in Japan, in Singapore, Wake Island, Palau, Thailand, Brunei, Fiji, Australia, the Philippines, and Diego Garcia.
Now, tell us about the P-8 Poseidon aircraft.
Yeah, that's based on the Boeing 737-800 new generation aircraft. It has a range of 4,500 nautical miles and can be refueled in flight by a tanker aircraft. Its maximum cruising airspeed is 490 knots, and it has an altitude ceiling of 41,000 feet. In January 2013, the US Navy started replacing their P-3C Orion aircraft with the Poseidon. There are meanwhile 12 squadrons in the US Navy of Poseidon aircraft, and a total of 119 aircraft in current operation.
So I know we've touched on this before, but for those who don't know, Richard, how did the US Navy know where to look the next day?
Well, three things. First, the Malaysia Rescue Coordination Center, RCC, and we've talked about those centers recently, put out a distress message at 20:32 UTC on the evening of the 7th. We're showing this distress message on the screen. And this goes out to all the other RCCs along the flight route and all the neighboring flight information regions. The message contains an addressing of all the FIRs along the flight route, shows the flight plan, and it also contains the ICA address code ZRZX, which is the code please distribute to all other flight information regions. The message is broadcast using the Aeronautical Fixed Telecommunications Network, AFTN. So that would have included the Fukuyama Flight Information Region in Japan and the RCC of the 7th Fleet in Yokosuka, Japan. So the US Navy had that information and were alerted. They probably also had the Inmarsat satellite data, and they may well have had some over the horizon radar data from Diego Garcia.
So, what has your whisper analysis of the flight path of these aircraft shown us?
Yeah, we're showing a screenshot of the Whisper analysis. I tracked the aircraft using Whisper back in time towards the departure point where the aircraft took off, which was Diego Garcia, and then forward in time um, back to an arrival point where the aircraft landed again, which was also Diego Garcia. So three aircraft were detected and tracked consistently around this flight path at over 50 different data points along the track. The flight path is 3,857 nautical miles long, and the flying time was 8 hours and 55 minutes. The maximum range, as I mentioned, of a Poseidon is 4,500 nautical miles. So there was sufficient fuel to do this flight without any in-flight refueling.
So, the aircraft left Diego Garcia at 15:12 UTC, which is 21:12 local time, and flew through the night, getting back at dawn around 0607 local time the next day. Can the Poseidon P8 operate search and rescue at night?
Yes, it can. The Poseidon has a long range radar system, so it can pick up the weather and it can pick up any interesting targets. It has an imaging capability for both day and night. The Poseidon uses an electro-optical and infrared set of cameras, EOIR cameras. It uses image intensifiers, and it also has laser illuminators, which can spot any target on the surface and illuminate them at night. It can detect wreckage and survivors, whether day or night.
Wow. But the aircraft you're showing, the Poseidon, only covered the area from the equator down to 20 south. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I found that a bit strange. I originally thought they would have had a tanker aircraft supporting this mission and would have gone further south, um, but for some reason they didn't. There is a trade-off between the range and the time an aircraft can stay on a station. So, for example, a range for 4 hours on station is only 1,200 nautical miles. We're showing a screenshot of the Indian Ocean. The smallest inner circle, marked in green, is the range of 1,200 nautical miles from Diego Garcia. So for 4 hours on station. The next green circle is for 3 hours on station, which is what they decided for this flight. And the next one is for 2 hours on station. And you'll see to get to the seventh arc, which is 2,000 nautical miles from Diego Garcia, marked in red on our screenshot, that would only give you 1 hour on station. So the other issue is the maximum range of a KC-135 tanker aircraft with a maximum payload of fuel is only 1,500 nautical miles. So it would be quite a complex logistical exercise to keep a Poseidon going for longer out over the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, indeed, it would. Now, one thing that springs out to me, Richard, why these three aircraft? Why have they got such a curvy path?
Yeah, the Poseidon will fly a gentle S-curve flight path, especially when the last known position is uncertain and when a large area has to be swept. A so-called curvilinear path also minimizes image artifacts. The EOIR turret performs best when the azimuth or bearing of the aircraft and the altitude are constantly but slowly changing. When the search area is large and the survivor drift uncertainty is high, then often two or more Poseidons will operate together. They can actually share data in real time. So multiple aircraft operate all three on a curvilinear path with a track spacing typically between 10 and 20 nautical miles apart and on an altitude between 10,000 and 30,000 feet. Three aircraft with a 15 nautical mile spacing at 10,000 feet can cover then a total swath of 45 nautical miles. We are also showing a screenshot of the Unipack survival kit. Now, each Poseidon can carry Unipack survival equipment, which includes life rafts for up to 100 survivors each aircraft and supplies for 72 hours. So, with three aircraft, you can cope with a situation with 300 survivors. And, bear in mind, the number of people on board MH370 was 259. So, sorry, 239. And these life raft kits each contain five separate life rafts, and each sufficient for 20 people. They can be dropped from the aircraft out of the aircraft's bomb bay. So that's the system they use on a Poseidon.
But the crash site, however, Richard, is thought to be further south, around 30 south to 36 south.
Yeah, indeed it is. And when you overlay the Whisper flight path for MH370, there's a very interesting observation. We're showing a screenshot with the includes now the MH370 flight path that's marked in blue. It is possible that the US Navy picked up MH370 on its over the horizon radar from Diego Garcia. And it is also possible that the Poseidons went back again on the 9th of March and the following days. We know that three Poseidons landed in Kuala Lumpur, or just north of Kuala Lumpur in Subang, on the 14th of March. So the question is, were these the same aircraft? And if so, where were they between the 9th and the 13th of March?
How do you know it was a Poseidon?
Oh, that's a very good question. Uh, the US Navy only have two types of aircraft, the new Poseidon and the older P-3C Orion from Lockheed. Now, the Orion has a top speed of 411 knots, and we measured airspeeds up to 490 knots, which matches the
Mm.
Poseidon.
Yep.
The P3C can stay longer on station and easily over 12 hours. It has four engines, and what they do is they shut down two of the engines and they can stay much, much longer. But these aircraft returned after 9 hours, which again fits the Poseidon. And the route was a total of 3,857 nautical miles, which fits within the Poseidon range of 4,500, but the P3C has an even longer range up to 4,800. So again, it fits the Poseidon. And finally, the observation of Captain Martyn Smith was aircraft between 37 and 39,000 feet. And the maximum altitude of a P3C Orion is 28,300 feet. So when you put the whisper data and the observation of Captain Martyn Smith together, it will only fit a Poseidon aircraft.
And for the viewers, the PC-3 Orion is a turboprop, and the Poseidon is a pure jet or turbofan powered aircraft. Now, Richard, five Poseidons flew to and from Perth Airport, as well as Pearce Air Force Base in Perth from the 18th of March onwards. Is that right?
That's correct. And on the 25th of March, the commander of the U.S. Navy Pacific Fleet, Admiral Harry Harris, arrived in Perth and to congratulate the crews personally. Um, Neither the US nor Australia have ever said, however, exactly how many Poseidons were involved in the MH370 search and rescue operation. The official US Navy picture shows three Poseidons. The official AMSA picture, which you've shown before, of them all on the
Mm.
tarmac at Perth, Pearce Air Force Base, shows two Poseidon aircraft. And the official report from the Australian Rescue Coordination Centre says one Poseidon aircraft. Now, plane spotters in Perth have shown and published pictures of five aircraft and faithfully record date and time of takeoff and landing, and faithfully record the registration number. So we're showing a screenshot of the five Poseidons with the numbers 429, 430, 433, 438, and 439. So there's six in the squadron. Maybe they left one at back home in Japan, but there were five in operation in Perth. The range that these have reach from Perth quite happily out to the Seventh Arc area and allow between 2 and 5 hours on station. We're showing another screenshot of the range of the Poseidon between 2 and 4 hours on station out of Perth. The plane spotters in Perth did not pick up any KC-135 tanker aircraft coming in and out of Perth. So my summary is basically the US Navy had the means with the five Poseidon aircraft, the opportunity with their forward deployment in the Indian Ocean area, and the motive to show their search and rescue capability is world class. So, in
Mm.
my view, the US Navy were already on the job on the 8th of March 2014.
Yes. Now, those plane spotters you refer to in Perth, a lot of them are friends of mine, and they are very particular about getting it right. So I would imagine the data they've got is spot on accurate, and I certainly don't remember any refueling tankers come in, because those things would they attract a lot of attention because they're so noisy. So yeah, that's fascinating, Richard. Absolutely riveting stuff. And of course, the question is, wow, what happened the next day? That's a massive undertaking, though, to research with Whisper any activity the following day without a start point apart from Diego Garcia.
Yeah, well, I'm going to focus on Diego Garcia. Unfortunately, you won't find anything in Flight Aware or Flight Radar 24. So I'm going to sit on Diego Garcia with Whisper and check it every 10 minutes in the following days and see what I find.
Well, that'll be absolutely fascinating, Richard, and really much appreciated, because I know that the viewers are really intrigued by this particular development and the sighting of Captain Martyn Smith. And clearly something was going on. There's no doubt whatsoever. Something was going on. So we look forward to your work on that. And viewers, what we'll do is, leave your questions, leave your thoughts on this with us, and we'll get back to you tomorrow. And Richard will try and answer any questions that you might have. So, Richard, thank you very much indeed for your tremendous amount of work on this one. That's absolutely fascinating. Viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Please like us and please leave your comments. We really do appreciate them. And once again, Richard, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.